Recording in progress.
Good morning to everyone. We have with us CA Santosh Doshi for the session on Maharashtra industrial policies. So that welcome to this session, sir. And CA Santosh Doshi is an experienced chartered accountant in the MSME ecosystem. He was the faculty in our refresher course in the Maharashtra industrial policy. So that in this Maharashtra industrial policy, he was well versed, as well as he's the experienced person in that one, is particularly the MSME industrial policies. With this, we CA Santosh Doshi to this session, and I am handing over the session to CA Santosh Doshi.
Thank you, Dr. Sambit Kumar Mishra, sir, for your kind words. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yeah. So once again, thank you.
Audible, sir.
Okay. So I'm very much thankful to the MSME and Startup Committee of ICAI for giving me an opportunity to present my views on the subject. I welcome all of you on this Sunday morning. And first of all, I would like to just request all of the participants to download the material that the link of which we have already given in the message itself. That link is for downloading PSI 2019 policy GR, which has been issued by Government of Maharashtra. So all participants are requested to download that particular file so that we can switch over in our presentation from PPT to that PDF file and vice versa. Also, there is another file that has already been given, that is Women Entrepreneurship Policy related GR, which has been issued by Government of Maharashtra. So both of the files are requested to be downloaded by all participants so that will be in sync. As all of you can see, we are moving from, as a nation, we are moving from billion to trillion. That is, just recently, we have concluded our billion mark of vaccination doses, and now we are aiming to move towards 5 trillion economy at a faster speed. As all of the indicators of economy are showing that the sales are above pre-COVID levels, as issued by various reports that we are getting from the listed companies which are declaring their quarterly results, as well as the government is gradually opening all of the closed premises hitherto, that is schools or places of workshops. So it seems that the corona is within control, and the business confidence index of corporate world has boosted to a larger extent. So with that view, the government is rather pushing for good amount of investments in some specific sectors, as well as businesses are eager to achieve new skills in their businesses by investing more and more amount in new units or expansion of their existing units. So this is a very proper time or appropriate time that we can say that our institute has thought to make our fraternity members aware about various subsidy schemes which are available to these industrial activities, and with the help of which we can certainly achieve a target of 5 trillion economy as envisaged by our beloved Prime Minister, Narendra Modi ji. So we'll go with our presentation. So what is the main aspect that we should keep in mind while working in PSI schemes related area? The considerations which we should think are mainly aim of the government is to attract investment in focused business areas, because obviously there are certain areas in which possibly government is rather focusing to have more and more business, and from that point of view to attract investment. Then obviously investment should be broken up or dispersed at different regional levels, so that it should not be concentrated at certain few places only, say like Mumbai, Thane, Pune, Aurangabad, Kolhapur, Nasik. But this particular benefit of investment should be percolated to all our state, and through that employment can be generated at all places in Maharashtra. That is one of the point that government is thinking, and from that point of view we should work out in PSI schemes. Since this is a government sponsored scheme, basic point is that there are two types of GST benefits or GST taxes that are being applied. While dealing in Maharashtra, if the sale is being done in Maharashtra itself, we are applying two types of taxes, that is SGST and CGST. And if we are dealing in interstate related transaction, in that case we are applying IGST. So since this particular scheme is belonging to government of Maharashtra, the government of Maharashtra can give us a benefit in the form of industrial promotion subsidy only to the extent of amount of collected by it in these transactions through SGST portion. So benefit will be restricted only to SGST. We can see in this particular part in detail afterwards in forthcoming slides. The next point to be borne in mind is that initially the government will support units. So this is very important. What is the logic behind forming of these schemes? That possibly in initial phases, the units, upcoming units might be facing some financial crunch, or they may be expecting some kind of handholding. So government is offering different type of incentives to them so that they will stand up on their own. And afterwards, when the period of benefit consumption is over, then in that case, the units will support government by paying taxes on the transactions they have effected. So this will be a two-way combination, two-way traffic. Initially, government will support new units in the form of some free buys, say subsidies, and afterwards, units will pay them in return through taxes on transactions that they have effected. So there will be a kind of win-win situation. So what will be our today's agenda? Our today's agenda will be an icebreaker. So icebreaker is that, suppose it many times happens that we chartered accountants are facing such a kind of situation. A client approaches us and he is well aware about some kind of benefit that is already prevailing, and possibly he has heard that particular part from some of his relative or say other friends, and he is not well sure which type of benefit he can get and what is the thing. At the same time, possibly we as a chartered accountant are also well not aware about what type of services or what type of subsidy can be given to this particular unit. So this is an icebreaker for us, how we should handle the initial situation. Then another point of agenda will be to understand the concept of basket subsidy and practical issues related thereto. Special provisions. There are certain special provisions that we should also look into it, because we are also giving advices, so there should not be any such unwanted situation that our advices are rather wrongly placed. Then there are certain certifications to be obtained in this due course of obtaining subsidies under this particular policy. And what is the claim subsidy claims working? So that is very important, how it can be worked out, because at the end of the day, it is important that the subsidy amount should be credited to the unit's bank account. It is not only the on paperwork, but it should be really delivered. That is the important part. So from that point of view, we'll just check out one by one what are the basic issues. An icebreaker. In this case, the main part is where there are certain W related issues or W related points that we are just discussing. Where stands for where the proposed entrepreneur wants to set up his unit, because location carries out a very important part in this total scheme. And this scheme is specifically with the intention to disperse our investment in Mufussil area or rural area. So from that point of view, where is quite important. Obviously, at each point, I'm just giving in brief what is the point that we are going to discuss, and in detail we can go in forthcoming slides. What?
Sir, sorry to interrupt you. Please share your PPT in full screen mode so that it can be properly visible.
Sir, I didn't understand. What is the thing, sir?
Sir, please share your PPT in full screen mode, sir. Actually, it is not visible properly.
Okay. Is it okay now?
Yes, sir. Now it's okay. Thank you.
So where stands for the location? What stands for the project? That is what product that he is proposing to manufacture. So the process is very much important as well as the final product, because obviously there are certain restricted categories on which government is not willing to give any kind of benefit, or what is the exact process on for the which only the government proposes to give some amount of subsidies. So we should go through the thoroughly, particularly for that part. Then who is going to rather float that particular aspect or that particular that particular unit. So possibly the constitution is important, as well as composition of board of directors is also important. Then how are they going to do it? Means there can be two different aspects. Means whether will it be for new or for expansion, or how they are going to raise their funds, and what will be the options that we are going to discuss in this particular part. And which after considering all of these things, which particular policy suits to this particular proposal that we should be in a position to identify. And in that case, what should be your resources to study the things? Because obviously, as of now, there are minimum 17 to 18 schemes that are going on through Government of Maharashtra, which are specifically devoted to industrial activities. So we should be in a position to give proper guidance to our clientele as to which particular policy suits to his proposal and how he can be benefited more and more. So one by one, we'll go through each of those points so that an initial icebreaker can be easily achieved. Where location of upcoming unit is much crucial, because the Government of Maharashtra, depending on the industrialization that has already taken place in different parts of our state, has broken this total state in 6 regions. These 6 regions are containing, say, about 5 to 6 districts in each region. Each district contains number of talukas. So development that has already taken place in each taluka has been classified into certain zones, namely A, B, C, D, D+, and other zones. So for that purpose, we can just go through our policy that we are just discussing. So in package scheme of incentives, on page number 31, I'm over there. Okay. So Government of Maharashtra has rather floated or created some divisions, which is Konkan division, Pune division, followed by Nashik division, then Aurangabad division, followed by Amravati division and Nagpur division. So these are the 6 divisions which are already created by Government of Maharashtra, and each division contains number of districts, and once again broken up into number of talukas as per revenue records. And these are the groups which are called as Group A, Group B, Group C, Group D, Group D+, and still there are 2 different sectors. There are certain specific focused areas, say like Ratnagiri or Sindhudurga or Vidarbha, Marathwada, Dhule, Nandurbar. These are the different districts on which a special focus has been given by Government of Maharashtra. As well as the last category is particularly about those districts which are called as aspirational districts, and those have been identified by Central Government of India, which is pan-India based list that they have already published. And from Maharashtra, there are certain districts which are covered under that particular list of aspirational districts, as well as no industry districts. Yet there is no much development of industrialization that has taken place in those districts. Those are called as NID or no industry districts. As well as some of the areas, border areas of Maharashtra are affected by Naxalism. So Naxalism affected area. So these three categories, aspirational districts, no industry districts, as well as Naxalism affected area. That is the last category, which is already recognized as a separate group of business areas. Okay, so depending on each type of taluka place that they have taken, where the industrialization has already taken place, they have been broken up like this one. Suppose in Pune district, the total area of Pune district has been broken into, or it has been divided into group A, B, C, D, and D plus. Some of the areas are having a common, or say those are rather being represented in two different classifications. Say like Purandar. Okay, Purandar has been given in A group as well as in C group. Khed Taluka, that has already been given in C as well as in A also. Then for Bhor, okay, this particular type of breakup is very important to understand, because at that time we should be in a position to properly guide our clientele. So whether the benefit will be entitled to them or not, that is the crucial question. So we'll come back to once again our basic slide. So location of upcoming unit is very much crucial. Depending on that particular zone, the benefits will be entitled. Then, if the unit is located in A zone, they will not get any benefit, because in that case, industrialization has already taken at a proper stage. So government wishes that particular investment or industrialization which otherwise come in A zone should be rather moved to other lesser industrialized zones, say in C zone or D zone or D plus zone, so that people at official area also can get benefit of that one, and benefits of industrialization can be reached to them also. Now, there are certain designated areas, designated development areas, which have been identified by Government of Maharashtra. So in that case, the industrialization as per government thinking has already taken place. So no further industrialization is expected to be over there, because if the person wishes to have any kind of subsidy benefits, then they should move once again to lesser and lesser industrialized area. In that case, we can just check out what are the areas, because this is very important from our point of view. Just I will share another slide in this case. Just a second. Possibly you are in a position to just see this map, which is rather of a Pune Metropolitan Regional Development Authority that they have already published on their website in 2016. And with the consent of the then prevailing government of Maharashtra, they have already thought that the area of this metropolitan development region should be extended to about 50 kilometers from the center of Pune city. So if we are going through this particular part, we can just check out what was the point of certain area. If we are in a position to check out, this is the Khed Taluka, and this is a red boundary. So some of the part in Khed Taluka is within boundary, and some of the villages in Khed Taluka are out of that particular red boundary. So area which is within that red boundary is not eligible to get any benefit. So units which are already in existence or which are just newly being formed up in area which is within the boundary of this PMRDA, those units will not be in a position to get benefit in normal course of business. There is also another exception that we will just check out at later stage. but area which is outside this particular red boundary. And if the unit is wishing to rather set up their unit in this area, obviously they will be in a position to have a benefit of this PSS 2019 scheme. So from that point of view, these designated areas as of now are MMRDA, that is Mumbai Metropolitan Development Region, as well as PMRDA, that is Pune Metropolitan Development Regional Authority, that they have already declared. So we as a consultant have to check out where exactly that particular location of upcoming or existing expansion project is coming in. So even if it is in, say, a particular taluka, whether that particular taluka has already been divided into two parts, within development region and out of development region. So if it is within development region, they won't get any kind of benefit in normal course of business. So exceptions are there, but we'll just check out at a larger perspective. In normal course, they will not get any kind of benefit. So from that point of view, this development region related aspect is important. These maps are available in public domain. You can just check out, you can just have a Google search, and you will get these maps from the concerned sources. Okay. Then another point is whether the unit is rather existing unit. If it is existing unit and if it is carrying out any expansion related activities, so in that case, obviously we have to think that whether the new unit or existing unit is having their unit in the same taluka, because it may happen that possibly there is a unit in a particular taluka, it wishes to expand its manufacturing capacities, and possibly the expansion is being taken at adjacent place or another place which is within the same taluka, or at another place which is outside the taluka. So depending on the location, if it is within the same taluka, it will be treated as a expansion of its existing activities within the same taluka. So possibly there will be unit A and unit B. But if the expansion is being taken place at outside that particular taluka, so in that case, that particular expansion will be treated as a new unit for giving a kind of subsidy benefits under PSI 2019. So whenever the unit is rather carrying out expansion program, just check out whether that expansion program is within the same taluka or out of the taluka. If it is out of the same taluka, means that is not within the same taluka, in that case it will get benefit as entitled to a new unit. Now, there are certain cases or certain schemes which are sector specific schemes in which one step ahead criteria has already been allotted by Government of Maharashtra. What is meant by one step ahead criteria? One step ahead benefit criteria is that a unit located in A zone, due to certain their specific features, is entitled to get benefit as if it would have been set up in B zone or C zone. So there are certain specific schemes in which one step ahead criteria has been given. We'll just go through another slide so that we'll come to know what is this particular part. Now, what? In that case, obviously the government expects that the benefit should be given only for manufacturing of any product or processing to some extent to some processing industries. So obviously trading and to some extent, by and large, service industries are not covered under this particular PSI schemes. Almost all types of products are covered in this particular PSI 2019 scheme, except some banned categories. Which are those banned items? So those are units manufacturing beer or liquor, or say tobacco or tobacco related products, say like pan tobacco related products, or say jarda, gutka related products, or other banned products which are banned either by say state government or central government, for which benefit cannot be given under this particular scheme. Barring these products, almost all of the products can get benefit under the scheme. Also, IT units which are registered with Directorate of Industries or which are registered with MRDCs or SIPs or Software Technology Park of India can get benefit under this scheme. Biotechnology also units are also entitled to get benefits. So what is the exact process that we will have to check out? In this regard, another major sector is food and agro-processing related industry. So in that case, there are three stages which have been identified by Government of Maharashtra under this particular scheme, for which benefit to different type of entrepreneurs can be given. So primary stage is there, then secondary stage and third stage. So what is primary stage? Primary stage is mainly consisting of processing, in that case, which is rather of initial type. So processing, say just the goods have been taken out of the field, and now post-harvesting initial activities are supposed to be done, say like cleaning, grading, sorting, waxing, or ripening, or to some extent related or pre-cooling. These kind of activities are covered under primary stage. And in this case, the beneficiaries to get benefit under PSI 2019 for primary stage will be only cooperative societies which are formed by farmers, as well as some other farmers producers organizations. So FPOs as well as farmers cooperative societies are entitled to get benefit under the primary stage. Private investors or private entrepreneurs are not entitled to get any kind of benefit for conducting just primary stage related agricultural operations, agro-processing operations. In second stage, it is expected that the form of the input should be changed. So in that case, the unit is rather producing such a kind of thing which is, say, ready to cook or ready to use, that type of, if the product is being manufactured, say a kind of Maggi, we can say. If it is the thing, in that case, obviously the form has got already changed, and there is some value addition which has been taken place during the process. So that secondary stage benefit can be given to such kind of units. And in this case, private entrepreneurs are rather well entitled to get the benefits. Third stage, in this case, ready to eat, say like biscuits or any other type of food material that we can directly consume. That part is covered under tertiary or third stage. So in second and third stage, private entrepreneurs can get benefit under PSI 19 scheme. And in first stage, rather for all of the three stages, farmers producers organization as well as cooperatives as formed by farmers are entitled to get benefits. Now, in this case, a special point has to be mentioned about cold storages or cold chain. If it is an integrated part of total project, then and then only now cold storages will be entitled to benefit under PSI 19 scheme. So either it should be a forward linkages project in which cold storage is one of the main processing part, or it can be a rather backward linkages project also. So backward link project or forward link project, in the process of which cold storage or cooling or chilling, chilling is one of the part, production part, processing part. That total project, integrated project, will be entitled to a benefit, and just a standalone cold storage unit or cold storage chain will not be entitled to have any kind of benefit under PSI 19 scheme. Then there are certain non-alcoholic beverages also from fruits and vegetables which we can derive. So for that particular type of industry also we can get the benefit. So these are all mechanized processes in which primary, secondary, tertiary type of processing can be effected, and food and agro processing industry can get benefit under this scheme. What? As far as possible, products which are belonging to an identified growth sectors are rather given more impetuous, because Government of Maharashtra has identified certain number of identified growth sectors, say like electric vehicles, electronic items, Industry 4.0, aerospace and defense policy, and etc. etc. There are about 17 industries which have been specifically stated over there, and this particular list has been given on page number 7 of our PSI 2019 GR dated 16th September 2019. Now, sector-wise specific subsidy policies are also in operation. Say for aerospace and defense, there is separate policy prevails for electronic vehicles, for electric vehicles, as well as electronic items, even for garment industry, gems and jewelry manufacturing industry, Industry 4.0, and green operations. So there are a number of policies which are sector-specific policies, and through which government wishes to give much more impetus to these sectors. Now, who is covered under this particular policy? all type of legal constitutions are eligible for the scheme. Say, let it be a proprietorship, partnership, LLP, or say company, or even trust or cooperative society, and even public sector units are also entitled to get benefits. There are certain gender-based schemes also. So there is a women entrepreneurship scheme, which is important in this regard. So to give a rather much more boost to women empowerment, Government of Maharashtra has floated this particular scheme. The main features of which are, these are very much crucial. The main features of which are 100% ownership should be with ladies only in all types of constitutions. If it is a proprietorship, obviously ladies should be a proprietor. If it is a partnership, all partners should be ladies. If it is a private limited company, in that case, all the directors as well as shareholders should be ladies only. And the important condition, another one, is that more than 50% of your total staff should be a lady staff. So these both conditions should be met simultaneously and for total benefit period. So it is not the only one thing that in particular 1 year only you are meeting both these particular criteria, but you should continue with those criteria for all of the benefit period. What is benefit period? That we'll just discuss afterwards. Okay, so these are the two important criteria of in which women entrepreneurs are rather covered. In this case, all of the clauses of basic PS Act 2019 scheme are already applicable. So basic conditions, as we have discussed, plus all clauses of PS Act 2019 scheme are important. Now, in this case, that point will come over here as regards to one step ahead benefit. So units in which are located in A and B zone are entitled to get benefit as if they have been located or they have been set up in C zone. So even though a particular unit is located within the boundary of that PMRDA or within the boundary of that MMRDA location, still, if it is matching with this or if it is satisfying this women entrepreneurship criteria, then it will be eligible to get benefit as if the unit has been set up in C zone. So what I was referring to exception was this particular point, that one step ahead with the one step ahead benefit, that unit can get benefit under women entrepreneurship scheme, as well as there are certain other policies also, say like aerospace and dynamic, defense policies, or say another policy is in the form of electric vehicle policy, in which one step ahead benefit has already been accorded to eligible units. And if the unit is being set up in A zone, those also units will be in a position to get benefit as if they are set up in C zone or say respective zones. Now, in this case, one step ahead, if the unit is located in C and D zone, and if it meets with women entrepreneurship policy criteria, it will be eligible to get benefits as if it has been set up in D+ zone. In addition to all benefits which are already stated in PSI 2019, one additional benefit or attractive benefit in this case is cash subsidy, which gradually goes up to 35% of eligible fixed assets, subject to maximum 1 crore rupees. So this is an additional benefit which is in normal course of business for other units not available under PSI. So this is a special gesture by Government of Maharashtra towards women entrepreneurship. And there are certain other additional benefits also. Say like in the case of interest subsidy, they have doubled the amount of electricity duty, electricity bills, which is a rather rider one in that particular case. Or in the case of power tariff also, they have enhanced some amount. And likewise, there are certain additional benefits. And even for skill development, they do have some special benefits. Government of Maharashtra also wishes to set up such kind of WEP or women entrepreneurship policy related units for which a specific allocation of land may be thought of if there are certain applications. So there are certain other different benefits to this sector also. Going forth, how we are going to think of this? Whether that is a greenfield project, that is new project, or the entrepreneur wishes to have an expansion of its existing capacity, that is a brownfield project. What is the case that we will have to check out? Or it may also happen that the unit is also in existence and possibly they would like to shift their existing unit from zone A to zone B or zone C, that is from highly industrialized area to lesser industrialized area. That may also be the case, or that there can be even a vice versa. So the unit is being shifted for the sake of convenience or say for other purpose from official area to urban area. So what is the case that we'll have to check out? And in a way, what should be the funding pattern for rather creating that or floating that particular unit? So whether the owner wishes to rather create that unit with his own funds, or he would like to have some bank loan, for the purpose of acquiring some fixed assets over there, or whether external commercial borrowing is supposed to be taken, or whether unsecured loan from friends and relatives is also expected to be over there. On that basis, funding pattern can be set up, and it makes some kind of difference, or say it affects our total working also, that we can see at later stage. Now, as far as PSI 2019 scheme is concerned, what is the scheme? What is the definition of this particular benefit scheme? So, old definition of MSME, which was prevailing up to 30th June 2020, that prevails as of today also for PSI 2019 scheme, because in this GR of a PSI 2019 scheme, the government has already anticipated that there may be some kind of changes in the definition of MSME at central level. So they have specifically stated that the definition which is prevailing on, say, 1st October 2006, at the time of floating of that particular MSMED Act, that will prevail for this 2019 scheme. In that case, medium scale category unit is supposed to have a total gross investment, fixed capital investment, less than 50 crores. So a unit which is rather having a combination of such kind of fixed assets, the total of which is less than 50 crores, but the cost of possibly machinery is say more than 10 crores, that also will be covered up under this medium scale category. So this is very important, that it may happen that the cost of total machinery is say 15 crore and land and building is say hardly 20 crore. So total cost of investment or total project cost may be say to the extent of 35 crore. So in that case also the unit will be covered under medium scale, and just by crossing that 10 crore limit, it will not be shifted to large scale, it will be covered under medium scale only. Now, special LSI, in that case, this is a new category that the government of Maharashtra under this particular scheme has been introduced, in which fixed capital investment which is more than 50 crore and lower than the large scale units amount, which is specified as per the different zones category. In that case, those units will be treated as a special LSI case, special large scale industrial case, and large scale industrial units will be according to the minimum zone wise threshold limit that has been given in the Act, in the policy itself. So we'll have to check out as per C zone. Suppose, say for C zone, if a large scale industrial unit has to cover investment of rupees 500 crore, and they are supposed to, or they are supposed to employ a certain minimum number of employees. In that case, the investment which is in between 50 crore to 500 crore will be treated as special LSI, and the unit which is investing more than 500 crore in LSI, that in a unit, that will be treated as a large scale unit. However, certain relaxation has recently been given to agro and food processing industry in order to have a maximum and more investment to be done in that particular area. So overall present definition is according just as we have discussed. Now, which are the eligible assets for which benefit can be given? First of all, it will be a land. So either land can be owned or leased. In that case, obviously the lease period should be for minimum 15 years, and it should be a registered lease deed, not through notary. So it should be registered lease deed. So in that case, the title of the land, either through ownership or lease, it should be with the unit. It should be in effective possession of that particular land, and it should be at least for minimum 15 years if it is a leased one. In that case, obviously the eligible asset also covers cost of development of location, that is fencing, road development, and all these related basic development of location. Factory building, this is also one of the important aspect of eligible asset, in which civil structure is covered, particularly civil structure for manufacturing area or say office administration area, other utilities, as well as staff quarters for staff which is residing over that spot. All those civil structures can be covered under building, factory building part. Plant and machinery, which includes tools and equipments, as well as handling equipments, hauling equipments, but it will not cover any vehicle. So the tools, equipments, or say machines which are directly required for manufacturing process are covered under this particular plant and machinery definition. Electrification, in this case, infrastructural part which is rather incurred for setting up, say, electrification in the form of panels, wires, or say switches, which are important to run the machines or general lighting, that cost will be covered. However, the deposits which are repayable will not be covered. Non-repayable part or non-refundable part of deposit can also be covered under electrification. Another part is royalties or technical know-how. If a unit is going to acquire by paying some amount, in that case, that part also can be covered, subject to it should be lower than 10% of the total fixed capital investment. R&D related standalone units are also eligible to get benefit under this particular part, which is having a cap of 25% of fixed capital investment, or which should be lower than 100 crores. Installation and perioperative expenses which can be capitalized are covered. Integrated project with cold storage, just we have discussed. Captive power plant, which is rather generating power, and 80% of the generated power is being consumed by that power, that unit itself, that is not eligible to get benefit. So overall, these are the assets on which we can get benefit. Now, if an existing unit is rather carrying out expansion of its existing capacities, what are the major conditions that the unit has to satisfy? These conditions are rather to be satisfied simultaneously. So it is not or, but it is and. So there should be a minimum increase in install capacity by 25% as compared to pre-expansion stage. So if an install capacity is before just carrying out this expansion project is say 10 lakhs units per annum. So there should be minimum install capacity enhancement by say 2,50,000 units, so that it will be qualified under expansion project. This we are talking about is about install capacity and not the actual production that has taken place. So we are concerned about install capacity. Another criteria is minimum increase in investment should be more about say 25% of the total fixed capital investment. In small or medium scale cases, the minimum amount of investment in this case should be 25 lakhs, or in the case of special LSI, it should be 5 crore. In the case of large or mega and ultra mega, it should be 10 crore and above. So this is the minimum amount of investment subject to 25% of pre-expansion project, pre-expansion level. And there should be minimum increase in employment of more than 10% as compared to pre-expansion stage. Now, in this case, subsidy at the rate of 80% as applicable to new unit in the same zone can be offered to this expansion project. And in that case, benefit period will be lowered by 1 year. So if a unit is carrying out its expansion, which is located in C zone, in C zone, it is entitled to have a benefit of 40% of their FCI as a new unit. And the period which is granted to them to consume benefit is say 7 years. So in that case, if the same unit is carrying out expansion, in that case, they will be entitled to have a benefit at the rate of 80% of 40%, that is 32%, with a period of 1 year less, that is 6 years, to consume the benefit. So this is in a nutshell for expansion cases. Now, what are the initial effective steps that one have to consider before going for practical issues? So first of all, constitution related all documents should be in place, say memorandum and articles of an association, or say partnership deed, or say trust deed, or cooperative societies deed, whatever it may be. It should be in place and it should be registered with appropriate authority. In the case of partnership firms, even if the partnership firm is registering with the concerned authority and proof of payment of challan has already been attached, in that case also, that can be thought of, or that can be considered as a sufficient evidence of registration of the unit. Another point is the unit should be in effective possession of land. As just we have saw that it can be either through ownership or it can be through lease mode, but the unit should be in possession of land and it should be in effective possession of land that they have got the possession also of that particular plot, title plus possession. The third important point is, in the case of MSME units, the consent to establish from Pollution Control Board should be achieved or should be obtained. So the third part is consent to establish to be obtained from Maharashtra Pollution Control Board is an important criteria as an initial effective step. For special LSI or LSI units, it can be Industrial Entrepreneurs Memorandum Part A, which is being issued by Ministry of Commerce and Industries, New Delhi. or it can be an industrial license if the item to be manufactured is covered under industrial license category, or it can be even letter of intent as issued by concerned authority if such kind of permission is required to be taken. Okay, so for large special LSI or LSI units, it can be IEM, Part A, or industrial license or LOI. In the case of information technology or biotechnology units, letter of intent from Directorate of Industries or from MRDC or from Government of India authorities is required one to be considered as they have completed with the initial effective steps. Now, coming back to another point, what is meant by basket subsidy? Basket subsidy is comprising of different type of subsidies or different type of benefits that have been entered to the unit, eligible unit, by this particular scheme, and which are given at different stages of its implementation. So, first component will be stamp duty exemption. Then another will be industrial promotion subsidy, IPS, which is in the form of reimbursement of SGST, plus interest subsidy, plus power tariff subsidy. So total of these four components will be comprising of a basket subsidy. So we will just check out one by one what are the details of these basket subsidy components. First of all, stamp duty exemption. In the case of stamp duty exemption, it can be given at the time of registration of plot, or if a unit is going to avail any term loan for the purpose of acquiring of fixed assets. In that case, the possibly lender bank may be insisting to the borrower to execute a mortgage deed in favor of lending bank. So in that case, the borrower has to execute a mortgage deed, and for that purpose, he is supposed to pay stamp duty on mortgage deed. That mortgage deed stamp duty can also be waived off, as well as the amount of stamp duty that may be required to be paid at the time of registration of land, say whether it is in the form of outright purchase or whether it is in the form of even leasehold premises. In both cases, the stamp duty which otherwise is supposed to be payable can be totally waived off. That is the upfront benefit that the unit can get, and that is in initial stage itself. This unit can be given to new units as well as expansion units which are located in C or D or onwards zones. So units which are located in normal course in A and B zone are not given any kind of benefit for particularly stamp duty related issue. However, for IT units or biotechnology units which are located in IT or BT parks, benefit at 100% of stamp duty exemption can be given for units located in A and B zone. At the same time, if those units are located in private IT and BT park, so even though those are located in zone A or B, but they are located in private IT or biotechnology parks, benefit can be given at the rate of 75% of the stamp duty exemption, which is otherwise payable. So this is initial exemption only, because in that case it may happen that stamp duty is already paid by the unit and possibly they are trying to get it reimbursed. So that will not be the case. So government has made it clear that this particular benefit is given only at the time of execution, and in that case, in advance, you should take this exemption, and that exemption certificate has to be a part of your total deal. So in initial stage itself, one can get benefit, but once the documents are executed, in that case, benefit will not be offered. Exception to this particular point is that in aerospace and defense policy, government has, as a special gesture, given even a benefit to documents which are already executed. In that case also, the unit, if they expect, they can get reimbursement of stamp duty exemption under the same policy, but through aerospace and defense policy mechanism. Now, another part is industrial promotion subsidy, that is IPS. This is in the form of reimbursement of SGST. So, while dealing with in regular course of business, the entrepreneur is regularly paying its taxes, and after completion of financial year, they are getting their books of accounts audited, and whatever tax has been paid on account of SGST, that can be reimbursed by the government through this particular mechanism. In this case, there is specifically no relevance with whatever GST liability calculation method is there under prevailing GST Act, because normally the calculation of GST liability is done like output minus input, whatever it is. On that basis, tax is payable and that tax is paid to the government exchequer. But this particular methodology doesn't apply over here because this is just taking a base of GST liability, but not necessarily the method of calculation is attached with GST liability calculation method. So this is a different calculation under PSR 2019 scheme. Then important point is that IPS can be given only on the first sale of eligible product that has been taken in place. In that case, obviously, the consignee as well as the recipient of the goods should be within state itself, because it shouldn't happen that the consignee is within Maharashtra and goods are delivered out of Maharashtra. This may particularly happen in area which are closer to the Maharashtra state boundary. So it should not happen like that. Delivery has been made in, say, Gujarat, and the goods have been sold on paper as a consignee to a party which is located in Mumbai. So that should not be the case. So sales as well as delivery, both should take effect within the state itself. This is very important condition. Then all GST challans, return forms, that is GSTR1, GSTR3B, as well as other reconciliation statements, say Form 9, 9C, are to be provided to obtain this particular subsidy under IPS. Another point is that since this is state government subsidy that we have just discussed in the initial stage itself, no benefit of CGST or IGST can be given over here. We can go through a case study which is appended over here, and through which we will come to know what is the exact meaning of this particular part. For micro, small and medium scale units, what is the calculation method for this particular IPS? It will be at the rate of 100% of gross SGST output. So in this case, there will not be any deduction of input, and on the basis of just 100% of your gross SGST output can be considered for IPS subsidy. However, the same method doesn't apply with special large or say mega and ultra mega units. For them, they do have a separate calculation method, which is at the rate of certain percentage of net SGST liability. So for micro, small and medium, we are talking on gross basis. For large scale, we are talking on net SGST liability. Even in the case of MSME, that is at the rate of 100%, but that is not the case with special LSI and large scale. So in special LSI and large scale, they are supposed to get benefit at certain percentage of net. So there is a huge loss if the unit is in special LSI or large scale unit. Now, interest subsidy is third part. In that case, new MSME units are eligible to get benefits. So in a way, this benefit is not available to MSME units which are carrying out expansion of their capacities, or units which are rather newly being floated or carrying out expansion, but they are covered under special LSI or LSI category. So only new units and units which are covered under MSME units category are eligible to get this benefit. This benefit is given for term loan, which is rather availed from banks, public financial institutions, which are authorized by Government of India, Reserve Bank of India. However, when the amount of interest that is being paid on loan which are taken from NBFCs or loan which are in the form of external commercial borrowings or unsecured loans, those are not entitled to get any kind of benefit. So it should be from banks which are already recognized by Reserve Bank of India. That is the important part. The maximum amount of benefit that can be given is of 5% of the interest charge in that particular year. So suppose if a case is that unit is being charged interest at the rate of say 10.5%. So in normal course of business, they will pay the full amount of interest to the bankers on their loan account. And after completion of year, they will just lodge their claim to get reimbursement of interest subsidy. And in that case, they will be in a position to get benefit of 5%. So effectively, 10.5 minus 5, that is 5.5 interest rate they have paid, that will be the scenario. But in that case, obviously, this has got some rider that this total amount of benefit will be subject to the electricity bills amount that has been paid by that unit at that particular spot during the claim period. So it has already been observed by government that possibly there might be some mischiefs that on paper the unit is being created as a manufacturing unit, but at a later stage it is being used as a godown or no any particular production activity is being carried over there. So to avoid such kind of things, or to rather to cover up these loopholes, government has thought that interest or electricity bills amount during the same period, whichever is lower, will be given to the eligible unit under this particular interest subsidy clause. Another component of this basket subsidy is power tariff. In this case, new MSME units are eligible. Obviously, in that case, once again, MSME units which are carrying out expansion or large scale units which are new or expansion units are not eligible to get power benefit. This benefit is at ₹1 per unit of consumption for certain specified districts, say like Raigad, Ratnagiri, Sindhudurga, North Maharashtra, Vidarbha, Marathwada, no industries districts, aspirational districts, and Naxalism affected areas. And in rest of the state, it is at the rate of ₹1 per unit of consumption. Moreover, one point is to be added over here is that this benefit is available only for 36 months, first 36 months from the date of commencement of its commercial production. So it has got a very limited sanctity or limited time period to consume for. But this is the fourth aspect of our basket subsidy. Another point is that in this case, electricity duty exemption that the eligible unit can get, which is over and above that particular basket subsidy. So this particular exemption is at the source itself. So in this case, there is no any such kind of thing that reimbursement will be done, but it will not be applied at all in your bill. So that is at source exemption itself. Who are eligible? So all of the MSME units which are a new one as well as special LSI units are eligible in this case. So units which are carrying out any expansion related activities or say diversification activities are not entitled to get this electricity duty exemption. Units which are located in C and above areas are eligible to get these particular benefits. So units located in A and B are not in normal course allowed to get that benefit. Benefit period can be equivalent to your incentive period or say benefit consumption period. So if the unit is located in say C zone, units in C zone are entitled to get benefit for over a period of 7 years. So for those 7 years, this particular electricity duty will be exempted. Or if it is located in D zone or say D plus zone, in those cases, the unit is rather entitled to have a benefit over a period of 10 years. So for 10 years, blindly, this particular benefit will be given and which will be at source itself. However, till the time of application, if you have paid any amount of electricity duty, that can be totally reimbursed. So that is the important part. There are certain other benefits which are given to strengthen the MSME units. We'll just quickly go through these particular benefits because we are supposed to check out one case study, and on that basis, we'll be in a position to check out what is the exact amount of benefit that one can work out and how we can give maximum services, good services to our clientele. So other benefits to strengthen MSME unit are, first of all, these benefits are rather entitled to units which are located in zone A as well as zone B. So as far as these benefits are concerned, these are non-geographical basis. There is no specific boundary or say geographical area which has been defined for this one. So units located anywhere in Maharashtra can get benefits under this particular part. This benefit is only for existing MSME units. So new units are not given any kind of benefit under this particular part. So which are the existing units? So in units which are in existence prior to 1st April 2019 or which have taken and all of the initial effective steps prior to 1st March 2019 are called units belonging to prior to PSI 2019 scheme. So in that case, that will be treated as a existing units, and units which are floated after 1st April 2019 or units which have taken at least one initial effective step after 1st April 2019 will be treated as a new unit case. So this benefit is entitled only to existing MSME units. Now, this benefit is just one-time benefit. So during the total scheme period, say for 5 years, the unit can get this benefit only once. So there is no any repetition type of benefit that one can get in this particular part. Now, these benefits are in addition to basket subsidy benefits that we have discussed. So over and above of this basket benefit, one can get these benefits. Now, what are the benefits that we'll just check out exactly? If technology upgraded machine are supposed to be introduced in the firm by existing unit, they can get in subsidy to the extent of 5% of their investment, subject to maximum 25 lakhs. It can be even trenches also. So suppose overall the investment limit is set to the extent of 5 crore. On investment of 5 crore rupees of investment in plant and machinery, they can get benefit at the rate of 5%, that is subject to maximum 25 lakhs rupees. But it may happen that in year 1 or year 2, they have invested up to say 3 crore rupees. Okay, and after down the line, after say 1 year, they are additionally investing an investment of rupees 2 crore. So overall, during the course of 5 years, they are investing to the extent of 5 crores, and on that basis, they are getting benefit to the extent of 5%, that is 25 lakhs rupees on this particular count. This is one of the major benefit. Then to get any quality certification, say like ISO and like these quality certifications, 75% of the expenses incurred subject to maximum 1 lakh can be given. To have a cleaner production machinery in the total setup of the unit, 25% of the fixed capital investment on cleaner production machinery or subject to maximum 5 lakhs rupees can be offered. For registration of patents, because this is very important area that as of now, this IPR Act, Intellectual Property Rights Related Act, is very much important, and that is playing a major role in business. So one wants to suppose register their patents with appropriate authority. In that case, if it is national based patent, so 75% of the expenses incurred or maximum up to 10 lakhs rupees can be offered under this category. If it would have been an international patent registration, in that case, 75% of the expenses incurred or 20 lakhs rupees can be offered as a one-time benefit or support to that particular industry or unit. If one wants to rather conduct water audit, 75% of the expenses incurred subject to maximum 1 lakh rupees. If they are supposed to rather carry out energy audit, in that case 75% of the expenses subject to maximum 2 lakh rupees. If fixed capital investment or machinery is rather installed to conserve or recycle water, in that case 50% of the fixed capital investment, which is rather maximum up to 5 lakhs rupees, can be offered under this category. If one wants to improve energy efficiency, then if he is rather installing some machines, and for that purpose 50% of fixed capital investment subject to maximum 5 lakh rupees can be offered. For rather having a credit rating of the unit to have a proper financial discipline, in that case, if one wishes to have a rather credit rating, in that case 75% of the expenses incurred subject to maximum 40,000 rupees can be offered as an incentive. And the important part is that if one wants to list itself under on bourses, stock exchanges, then for first 250 MSMEs, the government has given this special benefit that up to maximum 6 lakhs rupees for first 250 MSMEs under the scheme for a period from 1/4/19 to 31st March 2024, they can give benefit up to maximum 6 lakhs rupees per case. So this is the total one-time benefit that MSME can get under this particular part. There are certain quick questions that we would like to go through, because these are very basic questions and possibly the our clientele may ask us, or we have to face this kind of questions. So we should be well aware about the things. Suppose there is a transfer of plot with building. So what will be the scenario? So in that case, so in Maharashtra, normally what was happening till date or till some years ago was that the probable investor was just taking land or say investing in land on lease basis, and he was not carrying out any industrial activity, or the plot was being kept as just open plot or barren land for years together. But the needy person who actually wishes to rather set up his own unit was not in a position to get open plot. So the original plot holder who has already taken plots on lease may possibly sell it afterwards with some good margin and make a good amount of money. So to avoid this kind of tactics, the government of Maharashtra, through its implementing agency, that is MIDC authority, has created or floated new rules in this regard, and on the basis of which the entrepreneur, if he wishes to sell out or transfer his plot, obviously that will be through that particular authority only, through MIDC only. But in that case, the original plot holder has to take out a building completion certificate in this regard. So he has to submit some plan. He has to rather create, rather acquire a new construction over there. And on the basis of completed construction of minimum certain size, say 20% of the plot area or 10% of plot area, as per the prevailing rules of MIDC, they have to construct minimum that area. And after construction, they have to take a building completion certificate from MIDC authorities. And on obtaining that particular BCC, they can transfer, means original plot holder can transfer his plot along with existing structure to the new party or new purchaser. So that is the thing. So now there is a rather misuse of this particular provision, which was not in prevailing up to some time before. Now with this particular introduction of new condition, rampant uses or say undue advantage of this price mechanism has rather came down to a very heavy level. So if in that case there is a transfer of plot with building, in that case what will the position? Because more and more investors are looking for any existing structure so that their time can also be minimized while going for production. So in that case, whatever investment has been made in first stage, that is for the purpose of getting that particular title of plot as well as building transferred in the name of new unit. For that purpose, there will not be any subsidy, because from government of point of view or from PSI point of view, that will be treated as a used asset. So suppose it is a case that existing plot with a structure thereon is costing to the amount of rupees 5 crore, and the party is rather willing to purchase or to go for that particular plot with building. So the total project cost is, if cost is say 8 crore. So first of all, 5 crore will be invested on plot as well as the existing structure of building. And afterwards, once that plot as well as building comes in new party's possession, they will make some changes in that particular structure, or they may add on some new storage building, or they may altogether demolish it and get it constructed as per their own requirement, whatever it may be. And for that purpose, the additional investment will be say to the extent of 2 crore. So in that case, whatever investment has been made till the time that particular asset has been transferred to the title of new party, that is investment of rupees 5 crore, will not be eligible to get any kind of benefit, because that amount has been invested to acquire second-hand or used asset. So Government of Maharashtra under package scheme of incentive expects that entrepreneur should invest in all assets as a brand new asset. So for used assets, it is not rather giving any kind of benefit. There are certain exceptions that we can just go through afterwards, but normally it is supposed to be thought that for used assets, there is no any benefit. And another question can be, if there is no benefit for say used asset, what about second-hand machinery? So if a machinery, second-hand machinery is being purchased domestically, say within India itself, it won't get any kind of benefit. So even if it is a group company, suppose a group is having number of entities, say company A, company B, company C. Sorry. And if company A wishes to sell out its existing machinery to company C, in that case, obviously, if it is within India itself, then in that case, the purchases made by company C will be treated as a second-hand purchase of machinery, and it will not be entitled to any kind of subsidy benefits under this scheme. However, if it is a purchases made from out of India, that is, if it is an imported machinery, which is a second-hand machinery, which is rather used in that country of origin for a number of years, it can be allowed as a benefit entitled amount. But for that purpose, one important criteria is that that particular machine should be having a minimum working life of 10 years and above. And it should be accordingly certified by a chartered engineer before that machine arrives in India. So that machine is having a working life of 10 years and more after arriving in India is important. In a way, it should not be the case that under the guise of second-hand machinery, somebody is rather purchasing just scrap and imports it into India, and possibly he avails the benefit, but government of Maharashtra doesn't get any benefit in the form of taxation. So that is the thing of which care has been taken by putting this condition of 10 years working life. Another point is normally faced by a consultant is that whether bank term loan is a mandatory to take benefit under PSI 2019 scheme. Primarily, no. The thing is that there is no any condition which has been stipulated in this scheme that one should acquire fixed assets with the help of term loan only or some part of term loan only. There is no any such kind of stipulation. So one can go even for 100% own subscription or by investing funds out of their own pocket, or one can even raise funds through other sources also, through unsecured loans or say hand loans taken from friends and relatives, or we can raise funds through external commercial borrowings also. So there is no any such kind of condition that bank loan must have been availed to float this particular scheme and to take benefit under this particular scheme itself. However, there are certain issues related thereto, which is in that case, even though you have not taken any loan from your bankers, but still, as per the provisions of this particular scheme, the entrepreneur is supposed to have a bank appraisal of the project from your commercial bank or scheduled commercial bank, and which is a must one. So where even though the total amount of investment has been made out of your own pocket or through other sources, but still the banks which are listed by RBI as scheduled commercial bank, out of those any banks, from them you are supposed to get appraise your project report, so that bankers will independently and as a neutral party, they will appraise the project and they will show us what are the maximum amount of costs in that are supposed to be expended in this particular project. So if the loan has been taken by from any of the bankers, in that case, this particular project appraisal report is being issued by that lender bank itself. However, if no loan has been availed, in that case, project appraisal from any of the scheduled commercial bank is a must. In that case, unit will have to lose interest subsidy if no term loan is availed. So it may happen that possibly the domestic sale or say within Maharashtra sale is of such a high volume that with that amount only the basket subsidy component is already covered on yearly basis, and possibly the industrial house or business house is in no mood to take any kind of bank loan. So in that case, obviously they will have to lose interest subsidy, which otherwise may have been allotted to them if they would have taken any bank loan for acquisition of fixed assets. So these are the two major important issues that we have to look out. Then what can be the investment period? Because it may happen that investment takes place in phases, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, or like that one. So as a thumb rule, government has given two different options for two different categories of industries. For industries which are covered under MSME category, a period of 3 years has been given as an investment period, and for special large or large cases, the period of 4 years has been given as an investment period. So now it has been left to entrepreneur itself to decide as to which is your investment period, means from when your investment period starts. Normally, it starts from the date of acquisition of your plot, either say if it is on the outright basis or leased basis. Whenever the deed has been executed, from that date we can safely or in normal course say that my investment period has started. So from that date, 3 years time period for MSME or 4 years time period for non-MSMEs can be counted, and whatever investment has taken place in that particular 3 years time block period can be given a benefit of subsidy. Obviously, in the project report, you should have already shown your intention to invest to that much extent to your project report, which will be covering investment over a period of 3 years. Otherwise, if your investment as per project report is for the first initial phase only, then obviously at that spot itself, your investment will be frozen up. So this investment period is important and showing our intention through project report to invest that much amount over a period of 3 years, that is also important. Now, what is the periodicity for applicability of this scheme? There are two different periods which have been defined in this particular PSI 2019 scheme. First one is eligibility period, and another one is operational period. So what is eligibility period? So depending on the zone, Government of Maharashtra has already given a number of years for which that particular scheme will be available, or during which you can have a benefit consumed in that period. We can just go through the basic our PSI 2019 scheme policy, so that I think it will be much better. Just please allow me to switch over. Yes. So this table number 3 on page number 18 of PSI GR is important. So this table shows different basket of incentives for MSMEs. This is for eligible new units, obviously. So taluka or area classification has been given under A, B, C, D, D plus area and other areas. And for that purpose, maximum ceiling of basket of incentives as percentage of fixed capital investment has been given. For A zone, no benefit will be given. For B zone, benefit at the 30% of fixed capital investment will be given. And for how much years? It should be covered within a period of 7 years. So this eligibility period in years is important that we are talking about. So this is important part. For C zone, it is at the rate of 40% for 7 years. For D zone, 50% and 10 years. So there are just two brackets of time frame for eligibility period, that is 7 years and 10 years. And for maximum ceiling of basket subsidy incentives, it is ranging from 30% to 100%, or we can say even from 0% to 100%. So depending on the zone, whatever time frame has been given or eligibility period has already been allotted, that is the first part of your total benefit period till that unit should be in operation. Another part is operation period. After getting over that eligibility period, the unit should be run for minimum 5 years. As we have shown, just discussed in first slide itself, that in second stage, government expects a unit to give some refund of benefits given in the form of taxes collection. So from that point of view, for first 7 years, government will give you hand, and afterwards, after completion of first 7 years, for next 5 years, government is rather imposing some kind of conditions or restrictions on you, and for that period, you must have to operate in normal course of business, and there are certain other conditions that we can just go through. So that particular period, which is starting after completion of your eligibility period, is called as an operational period. So for unit which is located in say C zone and which is a new unit, for that purpose, eligibility period will be 7 years and operational period will be 5 years. So for overall 12 years, that unit has to run its operation in normal course of business. If it would have been located in D zone or D plus and other zones, in that case, basic eligibility period will be 10 years and operational period will be 5 years. So in that case, a time frame of 15 years will be fixed for those units located in D and above zones. Let to let. When should one apply? That is very important. So in that case, before commencement of commercial production, one has to apply. Otherwise, there will be some consequences. What are the consequences if one applies late? or there is a late application. In that case, obviously, there will be curtailment of benefits that one can get under basket subsidy of incentives. How it will be curtailed, we will just check out at after some slides. Then shifting of units is already allowed, but whether it is allowed for what type of areas. So suppose unit located in C zone or D zone, which is rather shifting their unit from premises A to premises B, but that another upcoming zone is also of equal or lesser developed zones. Then in that case, shifting will be allowed by government under this particular scheme. So it should not be the reverse case that unit located in C zone is rather willing to shift its plant and machinery or say total unit to A zone area. It should not be the case. However, if it is within the same or equal type of zones, no issues. Or if it is even going, say, at interior places, at industrially lower developed areas, there is no issue. So there is a one agreement that one has to execute, and through that agreement, these terms conditions are being imposed on beneficiary units. Now, important part is regarding claim working. But before that, I would like to share with you whatever we have discussed till now about benefit, basket benefit. For that purpose, I would like to share with you one another Excel file. Is it visible? Okay. Now this illustration is for benefits which are entitled to new MSME units. This is not for expansion case as well as not for LSI or large scale cases. And the unit is expected to be located in C zone. So what are the basic parameters for this case? So unit is located in C zone. So whether that unit is entitled to subsidy? Yes, it is entitled. So what is the rate at which benefit can be given towards FSI? At the rate of 40% of investment in FCI, fixed capital investment. For how many years? It should be spread over a period of 7 years. Okay, so these are the basic parameters of the case. Now we will go one by one. So this column states for investments which are made actually, means actually incurred by unit and which is as per CS certificate. Out of those, this column consists of investment which are eligible for incentives. Okay, so now one by one we can go. Suppose investment in land is set to the extent of 1 crore. These amounts are all in rupees in lakhs. 1 crore. The whole of the amount is eligible for incentives. Factory building, which is covered under our definition of factory building. So amount of investment is set to the extent of 2.5 crore. The whole of the amount is eligible under this particular case. Plant and machinery, 450. The full amount is eligible to get benefit. Electrification, 50 lakhs, 50 lakhs. Pre-operative expenses capitalized under appropriate heads. Those are to the extent of 25 lakhs, which are incurred. Eligible 25 lakhs. Fixed furniture and fixtures, which are to the extent of 50 lakhs, which are incurred. In this case, these assets which are not directly related or causing any kind of manufacturing activity or not directly related with manufacturing activity are not entitled to get any benefit under PSI scheme. So for furniture, fixture, vehicles, office equipments, other assets, if any, whatever might be the investment, say 50 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 50 lakhs, 50 lakhs, benefit cannot be given over there. So we will just count over there 0. So what is the total cost of project? It is set 12 crore, out of which 10 crore is your eligible amount of investment on which PSI benefit can be given. So at the rate of 40% on eligible assets amount, that is say on 10 crores amount of investment, basket subsidy ceiling can be fixed up up to 4 crore, that is 400 lakhs. Okay, so this is just mathematical calculation on the basis of some basic parameters. Now, what is the time period that has been allowed to us to consume this benefit? That is 7 years. So 400, that is total basket ceiling divided by total number of years. It comes to 57.1 as the annual basket subsidy ceiling, that is upper ceiling. So in each year, up to maximum 57.1 lakh, one can get benefit. And if he consistently performs well in business, and in each year for 7 years, he gets this particular amount of benefit at upper ceiling level. So overall, over a period of 7 years, he can get a benefit of 4 crore, which is at the rate of 40% of eligible investment of 10 crore. So in nutshell, this is the concept. However, there are various scenarios which one has to look into as far as different concepts are concerned. So if there is a delay, say by 3 months, what will be the scenario? This scenario is saying that ideally, the application for availing benefit has been made before commencement of commercial production, as just we have saw. But say by due to some reason or other, there is some 3 months. In that case, what is the position? Normally, the time frame has been given for so in months we can calculate it as 84 months that has been allotted to us. Okay, so there is a delay of 3 months that has taken place while applying to the concerned authority. So in that case, period can be curtailed by the number of months by which you are delayed. So out of 84 months, 3 months will be deducted and you will be getting benefit for 81 months only. So what will the amount of benefit? So in that case, obviously it will be proportion. Proportion means in that case, obviously, as we are looking, the 400 amount that is otherwise entitled to a unit if it would have applied within time. So 400 divided by 84 into 81. So that will be the amount of benefit that they are going to get, and that will be to the extent of 3 crore 85 lakhs 70,000. So 3.86 crore will be the amount of benefit, and the amount of loss will be to the extent of 14 lakhs just on account of non-applying that particular application within time to the concerned authority. So in that case, even though the total amount of annual subsidy upper ceiling is the same, in that case, the total amount of basket subsidy has been lowered by an amount of 14 lakhs rupees on account of non-application within time. So this part is important. So we should always insist to the party that please apply within time. Just by making any application with valid documentation, there is no harm, but we are in queue and we can get benefit at the 100% of whatever has been entitled to us, and there will not be any curtailment. So this part is important. Now, it may happen that over a period of 3 years, we are supposed to make investment, but unit is rather quicker in installing their assets, and within first year itself, they have acquired their plot, they have rather approved their plan, factory building plan sanction from concerned authority. They have installed their machinery, they have rather taken a power connection, and commencement of commercial production has been taken place within year itself. Still, they do have 2 years in their hand to invest for additional investment as they have projected. So it may happen that at the end of first year, possibly they would like to go for certification by CA and from concerned other agencies and to avail subsidy benefit. So at the time of applying, after a cutoff date, particular cutoff date, or at the time of completion of this investment block period of 3 years, it may happen that out of this 10 crores rupees investment, some creditors on account of acquisition of fixed assets, eligible fixed assets. These are the eligible fixed assets. So possibly there are certain creditors which are unpaid one. Yes, we have invested in these assets, but those creditors are unpaid one. So it may happen. So in that case, what will be the scenario? So unpaid creditors for acquisition of eligible assets at the time of cutoff date or at the time of expiry of investment block are set to the extent of 40 lakhs rupees. Okay. So in that case, what will be the amount of eligible investment? That will be 10 crore, out of which unpaid creditors towards eligible FCI will be to the extent of 40 lakhs, which will be deducted. So paid eligible fixed capital investment will be to the extent of 9 crore 60 lakhs, out of that 9 crore 60 lakhs, the amount of investment, whatever has been over here, that will be eligible to get benefit under PSI subsidy scheme, and the benefit will be given at the rate of 40% of the paid eligible FCI. So 40% of this paid eligible FCI will come to 3 crore 84 lakhs, and on that count, our total basket subsidy will be restricted to 3 crore 84 lakhs. In this case also, we are supposed to lose an amount of rupees 16 lakhs, just only because we have not paid the full creditors which are on account of acquisition of eligible fixed assets. Obviously, as a mathematical calculation, this divided by number of years will be the amount of annual subsidy, basket subsidy that we can get as a subsidy amount. There is another part of yearly calculation that we'll just check out afterwards, after our regular slides. So we'll come back once again to our power presentation slides. So that was the part of upper limit of subsidy, the basket subsidy that one can get. This is on paper. Now, how one can get the benefit in real sense in one's bank account, in units bank account. So in each year of your performance for your period, say for 7 years, you are supposed to file your claim, lodge your claim with the concerned authority, with along with prescribed documents. Most of them are, say, like just audit reports, income tax audit reports, or as well as the GST audit reports, all challans, returns, all of these things are, as well as all other agreements. As per the prescribed notes, we are supposed to file our claim, and that claim is very important. And on the basis of claim, that can be processed by the concerned authority, and we can get the benefit. So how it works? We'll go one by one. So basically, a time period of 11 months has already been given by concerned authority to lodge your claims. After completion of financial year, suppose a financial year of year 2020-21 had just been passed, March 2021 had just been passed. A time period for claiming benefit, claiming this particular or lodging these claims has been given up to 11 months from the completion of financial year. So up to February 2021, to February 2022, I can lodge my claims with concerned authority for getting these subsidies. So this time frame is considered with a view to by this 11 months, you are supposed to complete your income tax audit report and file it with concerned authority, as well as your other audit reports under GST Act and possibly different acts may be completed, and you might be in position to submit all of those reports to the PSI authority. So from that point of view, this time frame of 11 months has been set up. However, if one is not in a position to file his claim or lodge his claim within a period of 11 months after completion of respective financial year, what will happen? There might be some cases that possibly one has just forgot to submit his claim, or due to some other technical issue, say audit is not completed due to some reason or other. What will be the scenario? So in that case, further 6 months time period has been given, but in that case, out of whatever amount that you are supposed to get in normal course of business, if the claim would have been lodged within first 11 months, out of that amount, 10% curtailment will be done. So this is a kind of penalty that an eligible unit will have to suffer since he has not filed his claim within eligible period of first 11 months or allotted time period of 11 months. So 11 months plus 6 months. So overall 17 months one can get to lodge his claim. It may also happen that possibly that unit was not looking at this particular aspect, or there is some issue that due to which even within 17 months, the unit was not in a position to claim his lodge his claim. So in that case, what will be the scenario? In that case, after 17 months, total claim will be lapsed. So whatever claim was otherwise eligible for them, but just on account of not submitting that particular claim within first 11 months or additional 6 months grace period, the total amount of incentive which was rather entitled to him will be reduced to zero for that particular year only. For next year, once again, he will be eligible to get the benefit, but this particular part will be applicable on yearly basis. So particularly for that year in which he has rather not applied for within first 17 months after completion of financial year, he will have to lose the whole amount of incentive as applicable for that year. So this is a big part, and from that point of view, we should always rather advise our customers or clients to file their claims within time. Then there is one important issue that at the time of acceptance of this particular or rather issuing this particular eligibility certificate, the appropriate authority is considering the total amount of investment that has been made. In that case, I will just do one thing. I will share another certificate, live certificate of eligibility in the case of my another client, so that matter will be much more clear. Okay, this is actual live certificate, eligibility certificate, which has already been granted by concerned authority in one of our client's case. Just for the sake of discussion or for the sake of education, academic purpose, we are just discussing over here. In this case, already they have, as we have discussed, they have taken certain items of investments, which are given over here. Maximum admissible fixed capital investment. This is as per our project cost that we have given, or at the time of applying, we are supposed to give what will be the maximum amount of fixed capital investment that a unit envisages to invest in. And this is the amount of investment from which period to which period they have taken, and which is rather actually accepted investment for the purpose of sanctioning these benefits. So land 300 was the projection part. Actual investment was to the extent of 296.70. Site development 0. Building, initially it was expected that cost of building will be 13 crore, but it has been actually invested up to this period to the extent of 980.10. Okay, so the balance amount can be even completed within a period of 3 years starting from this date. Okay, so this is the thing. Now, plant and machinery, the amount of investment that we have thought of was 990 and actual investment is so much. Electricals likewise. Intangible assets which are not rather eligible for to get benefits, as well as other miscellaneous fixed assets, as we have discussed. Since those are not directly related with production activity, the amount has been considered as 0, even though as per CS certificate they have actually invested it. Okay, now coming over here, contingency 0, other assets 0. So total cost of project was to the extent of this much, 31.5, but it has the actual amount of investment was considered only to the extent of 21.59 crore or 21.6 crore. Less creditors outstanding as on that date were 11 lakhs. So total amount of paid investment was 21.48 crore. Okay, the period was given to the extent of 7 years. So that is important part. And on the basis of this total amount, 21.48 crore at the rate of 40%, the amount of investment that comes to is 859.41 lakhs as a total subsidy amount or total basket subsidy amount. So in each year, the unit is entitled to get a benefit of rupees 1.22 crore. Okay, and what is the period of making admissible investment? As we have seen over here, the date starts from 5th of September 2014. So the same date has been taken over here by the concerned authority from 5th September 2014 to 4th of September 2017. That is the admissible period for making investment, and the benefit period, operative period, will be 1/10/2015. That is from the date of commencement of production till 29. So for almost 14 years, the scheme will be in operation. So that is the part. So Coming back over here, whatever investment has been accepted by the concerned authority. So that will be one of the part. Vis-a-vis, what is the actual investment that has been made by that unit over a period of time? Suppose in third column, in last column that we have just seen just now, the total amount of investment that has been accepted by the concerned authority was to the extent of 10 crore. Okay, on the basis of which investment benefit has been given to the eligible unit. Now, over a period of time, the unit is also accumulating or incurring some investment in the unit in order to rather strengthen their capacities. So, suppose at the end of fourth year, after starting of their commercial production, the investment block has gone up from 10 crore to say 15 crore. So, in that case, suppose the total amount of benefit is whatever benefit is there, that is say to the extent of total yearly selling is say 57 lakhs, and the amount of benefit that otherwise the unit is in a position to get on account of basket subsidy say to the extent of 75 lakhs. So one may think that since my total performance is above that annual maximum ceiling, I will be in a position to get the full amount of ceiling amount as a subsidy amount. But there is one hitch that this amount of performance that we have calculated to the extent of 75 lakhs rupees is on the basis of investment done to the extent of 15 crores of gross block or 15 crores of your assets, and on that basis you have increased your capacities and you have increased your sales, which is rather not authorized one. So from that point of view, what was the authorized authorized amount of incentive that for which you have been given benefit? That was to the extent of only 10 crore. So accepted amount was 10 crore, but as of now the total investment amount is say 15 crore. So there is increase by say 50%, or say reversely it can be said that on the basis of existing asset 33% increase has been made. So proportionate benefit from your total eligible amount can be reduced by government or by authorities under the scheme. So the proportionate amount of benefit will be reduced from 75 lakhs by 33%, and it will be restricted to 50 lakhs. So this point is over there, that proportionate to accepted fixed capital investment vis-a-vis actual fixed capital investment, that benefit will be allocated under subsidy claims working. So this is the thinking that you should rather work on the basis of investment that has been accepted by the authority itself in order to get the full amount of benefit, or you should keep sufficient margin to get full amount of benefit. Okay. Now there are two important stages, and first stage of which is provisional sanction of benefit, and second stage of which is final sanction of benefit.
हेलो हेलो सर, स्टेशन ओवर कर दीजिए। हेलो, please stop the session.